Hello! So we are here at Alderman Farms, and Pattie is the sourdough queen. Now, she is going to show you guys how she makes her sourdough bread with her sourdough dough starter, which you can get at aldermanfarms.net at their store. She sells the starter. I didn't know you could sell starter.
Yes, it's dehydrated, and I give the instructions on how to reconstitute it and go right into making bread in about a week to 10 days.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so she's going to show us how she makes it, and then I will put a link in the description below for you to go buy her sourdough starter. It is cool. And check them out at Alderman Farms on YouTube also, because there's some great YouTubers too. Yeah, they're just really talented. Okay, show us what you want to do here. I'll get out of the way and let Mike film.
Okay, I've already added 3 cups of water to my bowl, and I'm going to add 2 cups of sourdough starter. I've already got it poured. Well, let me switch over here. Sorry.
You can switch places.
And it's warm. It's warm water. You know, just tepid water, not real hot or anything like that. Now, I do a tablespoon of yeast in my sourdough. You don't have to do this, but you've got to remember, if you don't add any commercial yeast, your rising times are going to be longer. This will have about an 8 to 12 hour rise overnight, and then when we put it into loaves tomorrow, it will take about 4 hours to be able to be baked with putting yeast in there. If we didn't put the yeast in there, I would have to let it rise for another probably 8 hours or so. All right, here we go. It's going to be noisy.
Hold on a second. Does the recipe come with your sourdough starter?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
And you can do it either way, but you know, you just need to have a very active starter before you don't use yeast in it, commercial yeast. So, but yes, it does come with it. I'm gonna go ahead and add what I can add before I turn it on. That's I put a half a cup of sugar. Now this could make 6 loaves of bread. And you know, I forgot I'm supposed to have 2 tablespoons of yeast in this recipe, because I'm actually doubling my recipe that I make to make 3 loaves. All right, here we go. And I do it on the second setting on my blender mixture. All right, and this is 2 cups of oil. No, it's 1 cup of oil. Okay.
Mike's making a mistake.
And 2 tablespoons of salt. And Tara has taught us that salt does not kill yeast. Okay, but they're mixed together. They're going to be mixed together later anyway. And then I start adding in my flour. Now, all this can be done by hand too if you don't have a mixer that can do it. Mix it up more. It takes about 12 cups of flour. 2, 3, 4. And if you notice, I'm not being super exact with my flour because with sourdough bread, you're going for texture. You're not necessarily going for like with French bread, you want to get that 4 cups of flour in there for it to be a nice stiff dough. With sourdough, you may use an extra half a cup or a half a cup less, you know. So that was number 5, 6. And as it starts getting a little harder, I wait till it kind of incorporates the flour before I add my next cup. So you've got to start going slower after about 6 cups. That's 7. And it's great if you can use bread flour. I don't always use bread flour.
So in case anybody wants to know, bread flour just has more gluten in it.
Right.
Which is what makes your bread rise.
Right, that's exactly right. That's 9. I think I'm going to turn it down a notch. right, you could just hear the change in my mixer, how it sounded. It's having a little bit harder time. So now I'll change to my dough hook. I know a lot of people mix up with their dough hook. I don't. I find it's kind of hard to mix with the dough hook. And I just throw a little flour on this where I won't get the dough all over my hands. Too bad. Just want you where I can get it off of there. I don't want to waste my dough. And once you change to the dough hook, you're going to want to add your flour a little bit slower because it doesn't mix it as quickly. Number 11? And honestly, I wonder if it's just as quick to mix it by hand. It's less work on your body doing it this way, but I wonder if it isn't just as quick because you have to add the flour in so slow, you know, to get where I find that if you add it too fast, and even if you don't, sometimes the flour gets down on the bottom of the bowl and it doesn't mix in quite so good. Mike, if you could show them right down in here. See how it's real dry down there. What I'll do is I just take and I'll pull it down. Excuse me. And I'll try and bring that bottom side up because you see how moist that still is, and this is dry here. So I try and just bring that bottom up. And I'll turn it back on and let it go again. It's hard to do this. I'm doing this from the wrong side. A wrong angle, should I say.
Do you need me to switch sides with you?
Nah, well, we can. I guess we can. No, it's okay. And one thing that I start looking for, you see how the dough is really pulled off from the sides. It's kind of leaving the sides really clean. And that's when I know my dough is starting to get ready. And of course, when you can't get it, you take any more flour too. And a lot will depend on your humidity, like if it's raining outside here, which of course we're in Mississippi, we're fairly humid all the time. But if it's raining outside, I may have to actually use more flour. Alright. It's still a little bit sticky, so I'm going to add in a little bit more flour, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it up again. Pull it from the bottom around. I think it can take a little bit more flour, but it's pretty good like that. that looks good like that. Now I should have had this done already. I could have having this done while that was mixing, but I'm actually using coconut oil in this recipe, and I did melt it to go in there as y'all saw. But you can use regular vegetable oil, whatever. But this is coconut oil that I'm actually rubbing in here because you want a good oiled pan. That'll keep your dough from sticking on there.
So all that dough is going to rise in this pan.
Yes, it'll rise in this pan.
And how many loaves does this make?
Well, for the farmer's market, I use those little disposable tin pans. Now, I reuse them, but I use them because of the size of loaf that it makes. But if you're using regular bread pans, it'll make 2 nice size loaves.
Okay.
So
That's actually handy just to do a big dish pan like that.
it
That's
really is.
smart.
Well, and I actually have for the farmer's market because I'll make 24 loaves and I do 12 and 12, and so this is half of one of the, well, it's a fourth of the making I make for the farmer's market. But anyway, I have, I forget what you call it, the bus boy.
Oh yeah.
Bin. It's never been used to bus tables. It's brand new. I got it from Sam's.
Yeah.
But I really like that, and I have 2 of those. And when we're getting ready for the farmer's market, that's what I'll make bread in.
Okay.
So, okay. Now
I'll just do it there.
I have a little oil left on my hands, and I'll rub it together because that helps the dough to not stick to your hands.
If you can get it out of the pan.
If I can get it out, yeah. I hadn't let it go down all the way. But anyway, this is how, and you just need to, but you see, when I touch it with my old hands, it doesn't stick to my hands. And you just want to scrape all that out. Like that. Get it loose. And I learned to make sourdough from Tommy's aunt. She has died, but she taught me how to do this, and she said it's very important that you pat it down and then you turn it over, because now this side is oil. You want oil to be on both sides of your bread.
Now, just so you guys know, it's really important that you oil the top of the bread, because in bread making, if you don't, you will get a crust on top that's not baked, but it's just a dried
out.
It's dried out, and it makes little hard pieces in your bread. So that's why you want to make sure it's oiled.
I didn't know why. I just do it because I was told to.
Yeah.
You know. So and Aunt Dossie sold bread here in Brookhaven to all kinds of people, to tons of people.
Yeah.
And so she really knew how to do bread. I wish she could know now all the different things. And tomorrow I want to show you some different things that I'm doing with just plain bread dough.
Okay, so now what are you going to do with this?
I'm going to get saran wrap, and I'm going to cover this with saran wrap, and I'm going to let it sit on my counter all night long.
Okay.
And let it do its magic.
Okay, so while this is waiting, I know the instructions come to make the sourdough starter, but just tell us how you make the sourdough starter to start with.
Okay. Well, the way I do it a little bit different. A lot of the recipes,
Wow.
you smell it?
Man.
A lot of the recipes, I got all on my face now. You start out with a cup of flour and a cup of water. I have changed that a little bit. I actually use milk and I use sugar in my starter too. Now you don't have to. You can use water and flour only, but I feel like milk gives me a more active starter, and the sugar really feeds it a lot. There's people that don't do that, and that's fine. That's just the way I do it. But instead of starting with such large amounts, a cup and a cup, I start out with an eighth of a cup, an eighth of a cup, and a 16th of a cup. An eighth of a cup of flour, an eighth of a cup of milk, and a 16th cup of sugar.
Okay, so that would be 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of flour, and 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I just saw that the other day.
Yeah.
I thought I should be telling this in tablespoons because nobody has a 1/16 of a cup. I have found a 1/8.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, I do that, and instead of, because when you start out with a full cup measurement, you're gonna have this jar full in no time. And what you have to do, you have to throw it out, throw it out, throw it out. Well, it's not that expensive if you're just using flour and water, but it could get expensive. But if you're using flour and milk and sugar, that's going to start adding up.
So
we
then
don't
what do
throw
you
out.
do when you put it in here?
You put that in there, you mix it up, and you will cover it with a paper towel and put a rubber band. Or this is actually a canning jar, so I'll put a metal lid over the paper towel. And you'll let it sit till the next day and feed it again. Those same measurements.
The 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of flour, and 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Yes.
Okay?
And then on day 3, you would feed it, the measurements go up a little bit.
Okay.
Like you would do a fourth of a cup, a fourth of a cup, and an eighth of a cup.
Oh, okay.
So we do it like that, and you'd stay at that measurement. And I've encouraged people too that maybe by day 3 or 4, you may want to let it just sit on the counter, undisturbed. Let it take a break and kind of start working, and then maybe pick up your feeding again.
Okay. So it takes 3 feedings just to get it going, 4 feedings, and then you can start making bread?
No.
Okay.
No. It's gonna, when you're starting from scratch with the sourdough starter, it's gonna depend on how many little yeasties are floating around in your house.
Okay.
Everybody's house is different. I sell the sourdough starter that's gonna have some of the natural stuff in it. I've been having people be able to make bread in 7 days.
Okay.
Now, that may not happen when you're starting from scratch. You may end up getting a bunch of starter and it's not real active. And when I say real active, it's not bubbling up good. You may, once you get like a half a quart or up to a quart, you may have to throw away some of it if it's not catching the yeast real good from the air. It just depends. I have some people up in Michigan that his starter overflowed the jar, and that's just really amazing to me. And it was some of the sourdough starter that I sold, and my starter's not that active. So he rehydrated my sourdough starter, started feeding it, and just the different yeast from his environment, really, he has a very active starter.
Now, it will matter what part of the country you're in. So like in Colorado, sourdough is really hard to grow. And you're gonna give me some, and I'm gonna take it home and try it. Because we're so dry, we don't have all that stuff floating around in the air.
Well, but since it's going to have some already in the starter, so maybe you'll be able to do it. But one thing we need to research, Tara, is are you going to need to be using more milk or more water than I do? Because I have had someone in Arizona try and start one just like I just told you, and hers was this thick, thick paste. And see, mine, you can see.
It looks like thick sour cream, like thick Greek yogurt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can see it moving. Hers didn't move.
Oh, interesting.
And she was in Arizona where it's very dry, and see, we're very humid. So, it's going to play a part in what area of the country you're in.
So, what are some top questions you have with when people use your starter? What are some of the top questions that they have with problems, or are there any tips, I guess, to make it easier? Other than you need to know it's going to take at least 7 days to get it growing. And how do you know it's done growing, I guess? That's a good one.
Well, you'll see the activity in the bubbles it starts making. And a real active starter is going to double in volume.
Okay.
So that's how you're going to know it's a real active starter. And it will start smelling sour. One thing about getting the hydrated sourdough starter from me is that mine's already sour. When you first start that, it's not going to smell as sour. It's going to take time to age. This starter is actually over 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've had it going that long.
So do you store it in the refrigerator when you're done with it?
I do. I've actually not been able to. I've been really using it a lot lately, but I will. You can store it in the refrigerator. I've had success storing it for 6 months in the refrigerator.
Okay.
A lot of people say take it out once a week and feed it and throw some away.
That's what I was
going to
say. Do you feed yours when you're...
When I've let it go dormant, I have not. But I have lost a starter before too by not taking good care of it. So
how do you take care of it once it's grown and going?
Well, you're going to be using it, and if you...
So as you use it, what do you do?
Well, you want to replenish it. And the sourdough starter, I skip a day every now and then. This starter wasn't fed yesterday. I forgot. We were kind of busy.
Yeah.
but I still used it today. We'll see what kind of rise we get on it. Plus, I put some yeast in here, so that's going to help it. By not feeding it, it gets hungry, and it may not be as active. And so you have to start feeding it again. But it's something that needs to be fed every day or every other day. If you're not going to make bread that often, you're going to store it in the refrigerator.
What do you feed it with?
Oh, I'm sorry. You feed it with your
2
flour.
tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of milk, and a tablespoon of sugar?
No. Once you get more volume, you have to feed it more.
Okay.
So
then you're at the 1/4 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of milk, and 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Yes. And see, like this amount that I have here, and it's pretty active. I will feed it a 1/2 cup of milk, a 1/2 cup of flour, and a 1/4 cup of sugar.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to feed this tonight when we get done.
Because you used a lot of it, and so now you want it to come back
I want to go ahead and let it come back up.
Now, there is an art to this. And I would say if you have problems with it at first, don't give up.
Please don't give up. No.
Because it's really delicious bread. Right, dear? Mike's just had some in the background. And there is a little bit of an art to it. And quite frankly, people say, well, I've just wasted so much, flour and sugar and stuff. You're really not wasting that much. If you spent $20, which is a lot. I mean, we're talking, that's like 20 pounds of flour.
Yeah.
If you spent 20 pounds of flour and the starter and everything, but you got down how to do it, you've got some fresh sourdough bread that's delicious that you can make all the time now. So that's really, it's a skill you need to learn.
That's exactly right, and it's something that it's beneficial for people like us that have had problems with wheat, with the gluten. Because by having the long ferment, it starts breaking down the gluten before we have it. I've been gluten-free. I was gluten-free for about 2 years. I was able to go back on eating sourdough bread with no problems.
Yeah, and a lot of people can when they're gluten-free. And I'm going to give it a try while we're here. We're going to see. But a lot of people who have gluten intolerances, I'm not talking celiac, that's totally different. Gluten intolerances, you can sometimes eat sourdough because the yeast has eaten a lot of that gluten then. So
that's right.
Okay.
And it's a very versatile dough. Tomorrow we'll do some different things with it, make bread and do a few different things. But we're going to let this rise all night.
All right, so we'll be back in the morning and we'll show you what it looks like.
Whole video, and at the end I'm like, okay, now let's do it again. We're rolling the video. Tara's like, I can't put the bread back in the bag.
Okay, so we woke up this morning and the bread did not double.
No, it did far from double. It did rise a little bit, but honestly, it should have been up close to the top of this, or at least 3/4 of the pan.
So, what happened was it was too cold in the house.
Too cold in the house. We have granite countertops. I left it close to the window too, just not thinking. And so it didn't double. I have it in the oven just a few minutes to see if we can get a little bit more rise. No big deal. We're going to roll with it. We may not get as big a rise as we'd like, but we'll get a rise and it will be bread to eat. So don't ever throw out bread that don't quite, if it rises a little bit, it's going to rise a little bit or a little bit more the second time.
For the baking. Okay. There we go. We got it in the oven. Get it poofing a little bit more.
And I just turned the oven on to get warm and turned it off. So we wouldn't want to keep this in the oven while it's on.
And leave your oven light on too, is what we do.
Yeah, that helps tremendously too.
Okay. We took it out of the oven. It did rise a little bit more.
It did. It rose a little bit. It really helped to have a little heat to it. And I just didn't think about it. We were in a rush and everything.
Yeah. We made this, at 10:30 last night?
Yeah, so it was 10:30 last night. So, and look, one thing I want to show you I do, I started weighing my dough just because it makes a little bit more even loaves. And I'm going to be making a few different kind of breads. If this was just one making, I would just eyeball it. You don't have to do this, but because I want it to be a little bit more even. But you're just going to, I don't do a lot of kneading at this point. I just fold it over on each other.
It smells really good.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this in half because of I'm going to do 2 regular. Oh, I guess I need to turn the scale on first. Will you do the honors, please? Thank you. All right, and that's 6.95.
7 pounds.
7 pounds. And
3.5.
So I'll split it in half.
See how close you can get.
3.33, not quite.
No, you want to add more.
Wait. Oh,
3.5.
What do we say?
Yeah.
Almost, and I almost got it.
It's not like we don't have 20 things we're doing at once here.
Oh, I know. And my brain is tired too. We're going camping.
Going camping. We keep talking till midnight, and we're like.
And we say we're not going to do that.
I know.
We started heading to bed earlier, but all right, that's close enough. All right, now I'm going to split this in half again. Yeah.
Last night we were shooting video at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Was it 11 o'clock?
Yeah.
What was this on? I don't even know.
It was 3.5. 3.5. So you want like 1 and 3/4. Yeah. 1.75.
Yeah, 1.75. 1.72. Close enough.
Close enough for the
Okay. Now,
which pan do you want a pan?
no, I'm going to do this pan right here. This is just an original loaf of bread. I want to show you how to shape it though, because a lot of people don't know. I didn't know, but Tommy's aunt showed me. A lot of people just put it in the pan and push it down. That's fine if you want a flat loaf. But if you want the nice little round loaf, you take the bread and you just start turning it under like this. And you may have to put oil on your hands. This bread has turned out really nice. I didn't have to. And you want to, I have...
Smooth out the top.
Yeah. Oh, and see I've got a bubble there. That'll make a big bubble on my bread. So if I would have needed a little bit more, I might not have had that. I don't need it a whole lot. All right. That is not going to be a little pretty thing right there. I'm going to pat it down. But you see the shape of it, and I've turned all that in, and I have a little shape. And you see it's not going to fill the pan up right now. But as it rises, it will fill up, and I should have a little dome on it right there. Okay. Next, I want to show you a different method. It's more an artesian
Now
looking
this
bread.
is all the same bread dough. You can make all these different
Yes,
things.
and that's what, it's so versatile. And you see, we woke up this morning, we have dough ready to be made into whatever we want.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like about the sourdough. Now I'm going to still shape this the same. I much prefer to shape with oiled hands or with no oil, which is the case today. And I'm wanting to get more of a round loaf because I'm wanting to do more of an artesian looking bread. And so I'm just kind of pushing it under with my fingers, trying to get the round shape, you see. But they're doing the bread now that's kind of got the flour on it and everything. And so I just roll it because it makes for a drier loaf if you use flour on your hands. And I just get a little flour on it like that. Not too much. Okay. Now we have our little round loaf. Just set it down right here. We're just going to put it here.
And these are grease pans?
Yes, I have sprayed the pans. This pan, all of them have been sprayed. And I'm just going to make some slits in it like this.
Oh, fancy.
And as it grows up, this will spread out. There won't be flour in my slits. And it'll look nice and pretty. So, okay, now, sorry, Mike.
It's all right.
For the next dough, get it all. And I want you to notice the pan. Because I did the oil in it, it's good. I mean, you have to wash it, of course, but it's not all stuck to the sides. Had I not oiled this pan, it would be a gooey mess in there.
Yeah, and it'd be hard and crusty too.
Yeah. Okay, I don't necessarily need this flour. I am going to just put this dough here. All right, now what do we have left to make?
Okay, so we got one loaf, we got round one loaf, then we have jalapeno cheese, just for Michael. Jalapeno cheese, jalapenos and cheese. Then we have cinnamon rolls, and then queen loaves and a basil.
Okay, so that was 4. So I'm going to split this into 4 here. I'm just going to see about what it is. Oh, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to eyeball it. That's what I'm doing.
Was it like
I'm not 3.48. I'm just like, I'm not doing it. But anyway, when I'm doing it for the farmer's market, I always, measure it out. Yeah. How many pieces did I want? 4?
4.
We have 5, so that means we can do 2 queens.
Okay. Now tell them what your queen loaf is.
My queen loaf is actually kind of like a cinnamon roll, except you add fruit to it. And it's a spin-off of the king cake. King cakes here, Mississippi, Louisiana, really, it has to do with Mardi Gras from Louisiana. And it's just seasonal, just one time a year around February. Well, they're good all year. Why not make them all year? So I'm calling this a queen loaf instead of a king cake. Very similar, shaped differently. Okay, now we'll set this aside, and I'm going to go ahead and do all my salty breads first, which is going to be the jalapeno cheese. Would you mind getting me the cutter thing? Okay, now I've patted one of my little balls of dough down. You can do this with any amount of dough. You can do this larger or smaller or whatever. This is just about the right size. It was about a good handful of dough. What you're going to do is you're going to take, these are cut up jalapenos.
Are they pickled or are they just cut up?
Oh, no, they're like jarred. Yeah, they're pickled. Cool. Yeah. And you can get them already cut up or you can do them yourself, whichever you want. Is that going to be too hot, Mike?
Oh, no.
Oh, you like them a lot of jalapenos?
It's gonna be pretty hot.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Have to drink some milk with it.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's right, you are from Texas.
Yeah.
All right, then you're going to take your cheese. This is my favorite, one of my, well, and I also do this with olives. I do olives in the food processor, and then I use mozzarella cheese on it. And it is just, it's been great sellers at the market. Okay, might as well just use all the cheese. I did it all. All right, then you're going to push it down like that, and then you're going to roll it up, just like you're doing a cinnamon roll or jelly roll. I guess I could roll it that way where people could see, huh? You roll up. And I honestly shouldn't have got it right on the edge, but I did. Because I'll pull it over like that. And so it's jelly roll style, right? That's what you call that.
Yep. That's what we call it from the north, too.
Oh, okay.
Even though we're in the west. We discovered last night that northerners from the west are still northerners.
Yes. Anything, I guess, almost
North.
above us. Okay. Now, I have this nice little roll here. You could bake it like this. That would be perfectly fine. You could actually cut it. Do it this way. You could actually cut it and make some little rounds like that. Look like cinnamon rolls, but it would be jalapeno cheese. But this is
That'd be a surprise.
Yeah.
This is my favorite way to do it. When I do it at the market, I just cut it like that, and look at this goodness exposed.
Oh, yum.
Now, for a bigger loaf that I sell for a little bit more, I pinch these together and I roll it around like this. Okay?
Yeah.
For a smaller loaf, which is my favorite way to have it, I do it like this. Because can you imagine having a ham sandwich on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I set these over on the tray to rise, and we got to let all this double. And if you remember, I use what do I use? I use some yeast in my bread, so it shouldn't take as long. I don't have to wait the 12 hours to double.
Okay, so if you don't use yeast in it, then you're going to have to let it rise again for 12 hours before you bake it.
Up to approximately, yeah. Okay.
And do you do just until it's doubled in size?
Yes, yes. I'm going to scoot this one over just a little bit because I'm going to put my basil. I try and keep my salty stuff together and my sweet stuff together.
Oh,
So, okay. Now next I'm going to do my basil bread, and this is still the same dough we started with. And depending on how much you like basil, how much you use. This is some dehydrated basil that I did from my garden. And I've read that you don't crumble it until
oh, really?
you go to use it. Yeah, because it stays.
Keeps the essential oils in
Yeah,
it.
and the flavors in it. And so I did one little sprinkling of that. And you just knead that in.
Oh, man, that would be so good with a garlic butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yum!
Smells delish.
Yeah, it's when you can still smell it when you smell the jar, but it really, the aroma comes out. Do a little bit more. And, you know, all the different breads you can shape differently. I do the farmer's market, so I want all of mine to I want them to look a little different, where people will know. And so what I do with this is I just do a braid. I'm going to break this into 3 pieces. Try and get them similar size. Hey, we can serve this bread tonight around the campfire.
Are you kidding? It's not going to make it. I'm going to eat it on the way. Actually, I would be so happy if I could eat this sourdough bread.
I know.
It's
It's
so
just,
much before.
I can't imagine. All right, now I'm just doing a regular braid. So. And you pinch your ends together.
We're gonna have so much food this weekend.
Yeah.
It's gonna be insane.
All right, and I'm gonna set it on my tray to rise. You could do these bigger. You could actually do this and put it over in your loaf pan. Like if you used the whole making of bread, you could actually put that in here, and when it would rise up, it would have a nice pretty braid across the top. Or you could just do it freestyle.
There you go.
Okay, now our sweetbreads. I'm gonna do just a regular cinnamon bread.
Need a rolling pin?
Yeah, rolling pin would be good.
Okay. Where is it?
In this drawer, back over
See,
there.
I'm not the only one.
What? Oh, that forgets the stuff. And I went over the list a couple of times.
I know I do that all the time.
Because I told you, I just wanted to have everything we needed. Okay.
Man, you sure make an awful lot of good stuff.
Gotta feed y'all.
We're in the South. You gotta eat.
That's right. All right, this is just the cinnamon rolls. Now, if you were to do a larger batch, you would do about 2 tablespoons of butter. I like to have mine melted. I did do 2 tablespoons, but might be a little too much. But you know what? I guess it would make them extra gooey and good if I put it all on there, huh? Yeah. Let's do that. If it oozes out, it'll just be better. Thank you. It won't come out that hole.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. You want to sprinkle your cinnamon and sugar on it.
So you already have your cinnamon and sugar pre-mixed like
yes.
I do.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
this mixture is actually half, like if you would use a half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of regular sugar, and then a 1/4 of a cup of cinnamon.
Oh, yeah.
This is the way, the recipe that I use.
I should try that one.
Do you put brown sugar in yours?
Well, sometimes.
To me, it adds a little bit to it.
I shouldn't say never, but
Well,
occasionally do.
Well, the color's real nice too.
Yeah. I need to do it more often because I know it tastes so good. It's just one of those things where you never remember.
Look, it is running out. Doggone it.
That's all right.
It's going to be extra good and gooey. So, anyway, this is going to be our little bread cinnamon rolls. This is not the actual cinnamon roll recipe I use for the market, but I did this the other day. Would you put that pan over here, please? And I almost wonder if I like them better made out of the bread. So I want to do a side-by-side comparison one day.
You guys can get this cutter in our Amazon store in the description below. It's the best
It's
thing
wonderful.
ever.
I'm going to dip them in there. And let's see. You want them, there's 2 different schools of thought on the cinnamon rolls. Some leave them nice and tall like this. Some press them flat. I usually press mine flat. Look at that. All right, this is how I typically do mine. I smush them down like this a little bit. Because, see, I want them to rise up. I want them to touch when they rise. And hopefully they will. All right, there's my cinnamon rolls. Now, I'm not going to worry about this mess because I'm going straight in. I'm going to still be using cinnamon. But this is going to be the queen loaf. And thank you. We're going to do this with fruit. We're going to use apples on one and blueberries on one. And you know what, Tara? Since you've claimed one whole one for blueberries,
You better believe it.
I may do 2 blueberry because I think the blueberry is going to be good. And I've had apple before. So I think I'm going to go with
do
you.
an apple and give it to me too if you.
Well, you want to put half and half on yours? Okay.
Actually, that would be good probably.
I bet it would be.
Yeah.
I need to remember that for the market. Okay, now I have the dough flattened like this. And so what you're going to do, I'm going to be rolling it this way. I'm going to put me a strip of blueberries right here.
Now that's what I thought was fascinating was, now if I was doing this, I would put it all over. But in the king cake, it's just like in a section.
Yes, you have a
Okay.
section of a blob of, and they do cream cheese too.
Oh.
Like you can have cream cheese in them and stuff like that. So I've just been playing with this because I think I'm going to do this for the market.
Yeah.
All right, now I did this, and I asked Tara, and she said yes, cinnamon and sugar would definitely go with blueberries. Because what is it that you make?
I make it in my blueberry crisp or blueberry cobbler or whatever part of the country you're in that you call it. We add it for that.
Okay, so
I think
anyway,
I don't know. Did you do it last night for
I
your
did.
cherry?
I
Was it
did.
good?
Cherry was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was good. So okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to keep this. You're not gonna start rolling here. You're gonna. Can you get this, Mike? How you're gonna go over the blueberries and down. And you're going to have to roll gently. And did you notice how far in I kept the blueberries? Because they're going to want to work their way out.
She left a little edge around.
Yeah. And so, okay. Just picking them up and rolling it. And I'm going to start pinching this end as I'm going. To try and hold my filling in.
You got a small piece of basil, right?
Yeah, we don't want basil.
Nope. Did I get it? Okay.
Yeah. It may have been a little hole.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right, then I'm going to bring these ends up to this and pinch it. Like that. All right. Now, I think I'm going to do, I didn't do this before. I think I'm going to put this end down.
That's
I think
what I do.
I think it would encourage it to stay closed.
Yeah.
And you've got to be very, very gentle with this. And it was kind of stuck because of my cinnamon I had on there. On the counter. So that's,
Just a little second.
pinch them closed. All right, so this is going to be another blueberry, huh? Let me put this over just a little bit. Yeah, there. Well, there. Okay. But, you can do this with all kind of different things. I mean, with my sourdough bread, which, gosh, we really wouldn't have time to eat everything. But one of the things that I do with the sourdough bread, I make a pizza loaf, and it is amazing.
Oh,
I put pizza sauce right down the middle. I put cheese and pepperonis, and you just pull it up and close it. Oh my goodness!
That's similar to our cheeseburger rolls and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I've done it. I did ham and cheese.
Oh yeah. That'd be
Just for. So, it doesn't have to be just bread.
Yeah.
Plain bread. It's very, very versatile. Okay. And you could also probably do frozen blueberries on this without any, and maybe sprinkle a little more cinnamon and sugar over them.
Yep.
I'm going to try that. I have a few in the freezer. I don't have enough to do like that for the market. But, so you could do fresh fruit. You could do peaches.
Do you guys grow blueberries here?
I've tried to have some going, but unfortunately they get mown down or they don't grow, so they die. Yeah. But I do. But yes, this is blueberry country. If you can grow them here.
Oh, you can.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's just former air,
Yeah.
So anyway, and we're gonna just do the same thing. You're gonna want to pull this over the blueberries where they have their own little tunnel. And you're going to want to gently start rolling and then start pinching that end in to hold your good stuff in there.
All that yummy goodness, as Mike likes to say.
And then I'm going to pinch my ends. Well, there's a little piece of basil. Okay. Now all we have to do is let these rise for these probably 2 to 4 hours because we have a little yeast in them, and then after that we're going to be doing taste tests.
All right, sounds yummy. All right, we'll be back. All right, Patty, what do we got here? That looks delicious.
Okay, we have our cinnamon rolls, our queen loaves, basil bread, our artesian sourdough, jalapeno cheese,
Yum.
and just a regular loaf of sourdough. So
Okay.
This is kind of a large pan. I'm very pleased with the rise. We actually did put it in the oven with the light on to speed it up a little bit. And so it's ready to be baked. And
So now one thing I don't know, do you do this? For the dark pans, I turn my heat down 25 degrees because if I don't, it'll burn. Do you have that problem?
I don't have that problem as of
Okay.
yet. So we'll
Okay.
see about today.
Now that may be, I do mostly muffins in the dark pan, so maybe it's the muffins at the higher temperature.
Maybe so. Maybe it is.
That might be it.
I do this on 350, and I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes, and I'm going to check my cinnamon rolls.
Okay.
They usually take 12 to 15 minutes, but I like to always check them. And I also want to mention, this is a convection oven, so I can bake on both racks. So, and I'm going to kind of cram it in there where we can get this bread baked at the same time. I usually would just do 2 of these pans on one pan on each rack, but I'm going to cram it in there.
All right, here we go. Because we're supposed to be leaving in like an hour.
But Wanda just texted me, and I told her that the plan, we're trying to leave, but that the key word is trying, so we may not be leaving then, so we'll see.
No, it's all right. So we're going to the Deep South Homestead Spring Gathering, in case you guys are wondering, here in Mississippi.
And I may have to move these pans around a little bit because they're kind of...
They don't all brown evenly.
Yeah, they don't brown evenly, and it's taking up the whole... I like to leave a little airflow around, and this pan is going to take that up. So we'll just see.
Okay.
I'll set my timer for 10 minutes and check it, and the bread will bake for 30 minutes.
Okay. We'll be back. Okay, so the cinnamon roll timer is done.
And if we ended up baking them 14 minutes.
14 minutes.
And that's on a convection, in a convection oven, so. And the queen loaves are starting to get ready too. Typically, I like to ice the cinnamon rolls real soon after they come out the oven, but I am going to wait to make up my icing until the queen loaves are ready. Uh-oh, there's some water in that spatula. I hate it when that happens. It does. Okay. And see how they rose up nice.
And then you just use a powdered sugar, butter, and milk glaze.
Well, I actually haven't done butter. I hadn't thought about that. It's powdered sugar and water and vanilla. All right, we're going to put these in for about another 5 minutes, and I think they will be ready. All right, now our queen loaves are ready.
Oh, yum.
They're nice and brown.
They look delish.
All right, next we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and move the bread down to the bottom shelf. And we're going to look at these. How wonderful. That needs to brown a little bit more, and I'm going to turn this tray around.
There's going to be no sharing.
Uh-oh. All right, we're going to give those about 5 more minutes and check them again.
Okay, you better not forget to give me my starter.
Yes, I'm going to do that. I've got it all packed, but I'm going to give you a starter.
Because I'm going to try this at home.
And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and ice these, and we're going to get that mixed up in just a second.
Yum.
Okay, our breads are ready.
Oh, yum. I don't think this is going to make it to our get-together.
I'm not going to quite make it there. And you see how where I made the slits, that's regular dough. I mean, and then it has the flour on here too. You can also brown this a little more. People are doing a lot of different things to it. I actually saw last night that some people like cutting a square and letting that grow up, and the edges are getting really, really brown. And so there's a lot of different things you can do with it. And this is one of my favorites, just to eat fresh out the oven, or when it's a day or 2 or 3 or 4 days old, you can actually come and slice it right here, toast it, and make a ham sandwich, and it is amazing on there. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and ice our queen loaves, and they're not quite as warm as I would like them. I like them to be a little warm because I like this to run down a little bit, so I may have to spread it a little bit on there. And the same with the cinnamon rolls. I'm not one that likes a heavy frosting. I like it just to be more of a glaze, but everybody's taste is different. So if you would prefer it to be glaze, you just add a little bit more water. And this is just powdered sugar, about 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, about 1 tablespoon of butter, and about 1/2 teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and enough water to get it the consistency you want it, but only add the water by the teaspoon or tablespoonfuls because it does not take much water. Looks like that is going to run a little bit. My cinnamon rolls are not quite as warm, so So you like a lot of icing or a little icing?
I'm like medium.
I'll
Yeah.
take a lot.
Mike likes it sweet.
But the glaze is still nice.
Well, and you know, at the farmer's market, I take those little sandwich bags that just have the fold over. They actually still make those, and that's what I package them in. So I like the glaze works good because it doesn't stick so bad to the package. So I was trying to turn that off. Sorry.
It's okay. That's why you have editing.
And like I said, if these were a little warmer, it would all run down the edges like this one, but we're juggling a lot of things today. And this was just the right amount. And if you're just doing the three, if you do like 3 queen loaves, you might want to just go with a cup of powdered sugar. We can go ahead and take these off and let them be cooling too.
Sorry.
Sorry. Where's my little trusty bag? And this is another good use for this. You just scoot this up because we don't want that. You see, I just picked it up. And it is available at Living on a Dime's Amazon's
Oh yes,
store page, right?
my favorite pastry scraper.
And this does get a little stuck, but I'm going to tell you what. If you have to pinch off some of that, Mike, if you want to pinch that off,
Oh yeah.
that is just extra deliciousness right there.
Okay, so do we need to get Mike doing
Oh,
a taste
yum.
test?
No, it's super delicious.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, Mike can do a taste test. Here is the basil.
Those all look so good. Who needs a bakery when you got a bakery in your house?
And look at this. This just is so pretty.
Oh wow.
All right, I'm just going to dump this bread right here, I guess. Came out nice and pretty.
Yum.
Oops, sorry, I didn't see that one. That is
There we
pretty.
go.
There we are. And this was my recipe double that made all of this bread. And so, you know, if you wanted to just do the regular making, which is you use 6 cups of flour, I use 12, and you could make half of this bread. So,
Okay, can we taste test?
yes.
Okay, I'll have Mike taste test.
You
All
went
right.
up or down?
I don't know.
Push up or up and down or down.
I don't know if the bread knife is in here. There it is. You want
Yeah, I'll have to taste test that one.
this one?
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, let's go on and get in the inside where,
More peppers and cheese.
yeah, the best part. There you go.
All right.
It's hot.
Was it good?
Oh, and you know what?
man.
I do.
Man, oh man, that's good.
Okay, let me try a bite.
It's got a little zip to it, so you better be careful. Wait, let me get that. You on the camera.
Okay, hold on. Oh! That's delicious! Oh, woo!
Hot.
Oh man, that is good.
And I
Yeah.
do sometimes do butter on the top too. So yeah, butter makes everything even more better. So
Okay, so this is made with Pattie's dehydrated sourdough starter from Alderman Farms. You guys can go to aldermanfarms.net on their store and get some of this to get started. She's sending me this packet home,
yay!
and I'm gonna get it started, and I'm gonna do some more cooking videos showing how we make it. That stuff is good. I am impressed. I've never really liked sourdough bread.
Oh really? Too
But
sour?
It's too sour, but that is not too sour. It just tastes like good bread. I'm
Mike's
loving it.
getting another taste.
Oh,
I
you're
think Mike
sneaking
liked
it.
it too.
All right, guys. All the recipes and the links are in the description below. Please visit us at Living on a Dime and visit Alderman Farms at aldermanfarms.net or Alderman Farms on YouTube. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Man, that's hot. It's good hot, but it's hot.